Okay, okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Wherever. Please, Honourable Minister.
Kuka on seuraava kolmas adjutantti? Jaa, sen takia me tässä ollaan hyvin.
We just concluded Africa Forward Summit in Nairobi last month. What was the conversation? The conversation was there is need for a paradigm shift in our engagement with partners. It is no longer about aid. This is going to be about partnerships. It is no longer about assistance and dependency. It's going to be about sovereign equality. This is no longer going to be about extraction. It's going to be about investments that benefit everybody equally. So that is new thinking. And going into the future, we are also agreeing that, Africa is not short of capital. We've been discussing debt distress, we've been discussing access to concessional financing that is limited. We've been discussing paying more in terms of interest. But also we are realizing that Africa is not short of capital. After all, we have $4 trillion of resources in our pension funds, in our insurance companies, in our central bank reserves. Only that it is not structured in the right manner for it to be accessible for the development of our continent. So what are we doing? We are saying that going forward, domestic resource mobilization is going to take a much more significant place, number one. Number two, we are going to be building African financial architecture that will leverage on African resources, work with partners like Europe, America, and others for purposes of guarantees, so that we are not looking for money. We can work with guarantees that then unlocks the resources that we have in our continent for us to run our development. In short, what we are saying is this was going to come anyway in some form or way. We're there, and therefore we are making, in my opinion, the right decisions. It is one of my pitching points next week at the G7 that we are, as a continent, we want to take charge of our own destiny, and we are going to work with others as partners. Of course, technology is going to shape the next world order in a very significant way. It's already shaping how public service is deployed. It's reshaping our economies, finances. It's also reshaping the whole engagement with other nations, including industrialization and the whole lot of it. So, in my opinion, technology is going to play a very significant role going forward. And again, most of the time, we're being asked to choose sides. Are you on this side, multipolar? Is it multilateralism? Is it protectionism? Is it great powers? But I think the way into the future is choosing sides, it's choosing partnership.
How do you you, in a European context, manage the politics of that?
Well, I mean, to give you a first answer, I mean, it's very easy to sort of go into nostalgia mode, especially for most of us who have grown up in the sort of post-Cold War era in one way or another and think that everything was better. And I find myself at times doing that, in the sense that I'm pro-European, pro-American, and therefore pro-transatlanticist, and I see things going in a different direction than I had expected. But obviously that's not the correct way to react to it. I think the correct way to react to it is first to think, okay, what are the areas where we can still work with the Americans? So we do a lot bilaterally right now, especially on the defense side. And also, you know, on icebreakers and on technology and on minerals and et cetera, et cetera. But then after that, the big thinking is, okay, where do I go next? And that's where the big thesis comes back, that, you know, Trump has basically woken all of us up. He has given us a clear message, which is that the United States is not going to be the guarantor of security in Europe, or actually the Indo-Pacific or the Middle East, and therefore do something yourself. And of course, for a country like Finland, it comes quite naturally because we joined NATO only, you know, 3 years and 2 months ago. But now we need to work together with our partners to make sure that, you know, we can ramp up our defense. I understand the antipathy, but, you know, in foreign policy, you don't have the luxury of doing that. You just have to deal with the realities. And I quite often say that deal with the world as it is, not as you would wish it to be. So this means that Europe has started to do many more bilateral deals, free trade agreement with Mercosur, free trade agreement with India, moving towards a free trade agreement with Mexico. So you're starting to see this happening. And when I visited the Gulf a few weeks back, clearly the Gulf states, after the war in Iran, are starting to look at Europe. You know, what can we do to Europe? You know, there's a reason why William travels to Brussels, to Norway, to Helsinki. It's not because he thinks that these places are great. It's because he sees that, okay, I'm able to forge new strategic partnerships. So I think we're starting to see a post-American world, and a world where we're going to have to start managing things a little bit more ourselves without always leaning on the United States.
So I want to...
Thank you very much for inviting me, and along with my colleague and friend, actually. And in this book, President Stubb tells us we face such a moment now. And I would call it a world in turmoil. And I think the question for us as we start off, President Stubb, the floor is yours.
There at all. Actually, if I would rewrite the book, I would not call it The Triangle of Power.